Hi guys, I'm Ivory and welcome to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing 3 looks using the So Jaded palette by Colourpop. This is in collaboration with Kathleen Lights. It has 30 shades and retails for $39, and this is the first big palette that they have ever created, which is super exciting. I do want to say thank you to my friend Nessa who did give this to me. Honestly, I can't even deny I have some of the greatest friends here on YouTube. She had this palette and then this shade, you can't even tell anymore because she repressed it so well, but it was broken. So Colourpop gave her a new one and she was like, do you want my old one? And I'm like, yes, send it on over, girl. So I really got lucky because I wanted it, but I wasn't gonna plan on getting it because, as you guys know, I just had a $1,600 makeup haul. So I was like, oh, I don't think I can justify getting another palette right now. But thank you to Nessa for actually being able to give this to me. If you guys don't already know, she is a fellow beauty YouTuber, so all of her information will be in the description box below. So make sure after this video that you go to her channel and send some love and tell her that I sent you, even though she'll probably know because she watches my videos, because she is a good friend. Before we get into the video, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I post new videos every single week, and also be sure to follow me on my social media. Everything is _ivorycherry. So before I go into the first look, I did want to do a little preview just so that you guys know what you're getting into. So the first look is an all shimmer look. So it goes from like a lime green and fades into like a dark green, bluish type of color. The second look is my second attempt at I think it's called a spotlight eye look, but it's basically like a halo eye, except in the middle there is a gap. And the third look is the one I'm wearing right now. It's a very blown out, smoky, red, orange type of look. I do feel like all the looks are pretty easy when you break it down. The only thing is it can be a little tedious. Tedious in my case doesn't mean hard. It just takes a lot of steps to get there, but the steps themselves are not that difficult. I think that's a pretty good way to summarize all the looks. They're pretty easy, but there's just a lot of easy steps. And just to make things a little bit more efficient, there will be timestamps for each of the looks in my description box below. All right, so first we gotta prime the eyes. For all 3 looks, the first thing I did was use the Makeup Revolution Define and Conceal foundation, and I applied that all over my lid, and I also used that to clean up my brows. And then once that is done, I'm going in with my NYX white eyeshadow primer, and I'm gonna put that right on top. So as you can see on this eye, it's all shimmers. When I first started out this look, I had down 3 mattes initially, and then, and this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down. No, what I envisioned was having down 3 mattes. I do that look quite often, and then having the shimmers just lightly dust on top of the mattes. But I'm telling you guys, these shimmers, they're no joke. I applied very little and they just covered up the entire matte. So it's not what I envisioned, but I'm not mad at it. So that's a little backstory. So I don't totally know if you need mattes underneath, but I did it on this eye and I don't want to risk having no mattes underneath and then they don't look the same and then I have to take it off and redo it. You get it. Maybe you don't get it. Either way, I'm just going to follow the same procedure. I'm going in with a Morphe M506 and I'm first going into the shade Citrine, and I'm laying that into the first third of my eye. First patting it down and making it as pigmented as it can be. And then once I have it down at the top edges is when I'm going to start buffing it upwards. Don't worry about being super precise with it. It's just going to be a base. And then with another M506 one, a different one than the one I just used, I'm gonna go into the shade Turquoise, and that's going in the middle. Ooh, that's vibrant. And again, I'm doing the same motion. I'm first patting it down, and as I go higher, I'm kind of just fading it. All right, and then lastly, with a Sigma E44 brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Sapphire, and that's gonna go to the outer third. And with this color, you wanna pat it down and then kind of flick it upwards, kind of like this, drag it out just to create like that wing shape. Sapphire is my favorite birthstone, not just because it's my birthstone, but I do actually think it's the prettiest. Before I got engaged and my husband and I were talking about rings, I did actually consider having a sapphire as my center stone. I'm not really sure why I changed my mind, but I'm happy with what I got. And as you can see, this looks like a mess, okay? I'm gonna take the brushes that we used for each color and blend. This is just the background, so it's gonna be covered up, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm gonna go in with a Sigma E25 brush, and I'm gonna go into the shade Peridot. I'm gonna cover up the yellow. As you can see, I did not need a lot and it just completely covers it up. Like, I'm telling you, these shimmers, they don't come to play. Is it shimmer or metallic? I don't totally know the difference between the two. And for all I know, they're synonyms. Just a side note, these brushes are not wet. They apply so beautifully, so vibrant, without any setting spray or water. So I'm gonna go in with a smaller taper brush, and I'm gonna go into the shade, what did I use? Emerald. I used Emerald. And I'm gonna put that in the middle. And then with a Morphe M152 brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Onyx, which is black, but it has blue glitter in it. I think it's so pretty. I'm gonna place that on the outer V. Okay, and now is when we can just fine tune everything. So I'm gonna go back into Peridot and I'm kind of just let that color bleed into Emerald and make sure it matches the other side. And then also on top of Emerald, I remember I took a little bit of Aquamarine as well, and I just lightly, very lightly, I can't stress that enough, sprinkled that right on top. All right, and then lastly, just take a clean, fluffy brush and just blend out these edges. And that is it for the tops of the eye. So I'm gonna take some makeup remover because there's just a little bit of fallout. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of my face off of camera. But as always, all of the products that I use will be in my description box below. Okay, so for the lower lash line, it's gonna be basically the exact same steps, except I did this eye off of camera and I have confirmed that you don't actually need to put the mattes underneath. You could just go straight into the shimmers. This is the face of someone that is ecstatic to know that they did extra work for nothing. But if you recreate this look, can you just do the extra steps? Because then I won't feel so stupid. I would really appreciate that. Kay, thanks so much. Anyway, I'm gonna take a flat shader brush and go into my white eyeshadow primer again. I'm gonna apply that to the lower lash line. And then using the same brushes, I'm gonna go into the same three, actually no, I used four shades. So I'm first going in order from inner corner to outer corner, Peridot, and then Emerald, and then Onyx. And then to be consistent, right on top of Emerald, I'm gonna go in with the shade Aquamarine. And then in my waterline, I'm just gonna go in with a white eyeliner to just really open up the eyes. And I wasn't really thinking, but I added my false lashes before I did my wing, which makes it really hard to do my wing. But I'm gonna apply a wing and I'm using the Sigma gel liner in the shade Wicked. And this is the finished first look. This is my first time actually playing with the palette and we're off to a really good start. I love the way this look came out. I think the shimmers are everything. But now that I know the power of the shimmers or the metallics, whatever you want to call them, I will use that information to my advantage for the next two looks. I'm gonna take this off and we're gonna move on. Okay, so for look number 2, I wanted to do something a little more everyday. So the colors themselves are very neutral, very basic, but of course there's a little pop of something in the middle. You know I had to. I don't know if you remember, but I did a full face of Colourpop and I tried to do this spotlight look and it came out, well, I thought it looked pretty bad. But through that fail, I persevered and now I'm able to hopefully redeem myself. I like this look a lot better than I did the first time I attempted this. But if you take away the middle part, this look is very basic. So I'm first gonna take a really small tapered brush and I'm gonna go into the shade Jasper and I'm gonna put that on both the outer and inner part of my lid. And like always, pat it down first and then we blend. By the way, I'm sorry if you can hear my air conditioning. It turned on because it's just way too hot today. And since my whole face is done, I'm actually gonna take the same color with the same brush. I'm gonna pinch the bristles and I'm gonna run that on my lower lash line. And then with a Morphe M506 brush, I'm going into the shade You're a Gem and I'm gonna use this color to blend out Jasper. I have to be honest, as much as I love Colourpop, I feel like they launch way too many things way too often. They literally come out with something new every single week and often it's multiple times a week and it's really exhausting to keep up with it. And it almost makes them not special anymore. Like when I see them on Trend Mood, I'm like, oh god, they came out with another palette. I've never seen a company produce so much so quick so often. Okay, so now I'm left with this negative space in the middle. I'm gonna go in with a, oh no, wrong brush, sorry. I'm gonna go in with the Sigma E44 brush. I'm gonna use the shade Sunstone. Wait. Oh my god, where is my head today? It's the wrong shade. Good thing I have a color switch. I'm sorry, that was my bad. I'm gonna go in with Smoky Quartz. Of course I would mess that up because I know when I was thinking of what should go in the middle, I was debating between these two and I did this eye, went off to have lunch and then came back, so of course I would forget which one I chose. But anyway, I'm gonna take Smoky Quartz and I'm gonna go in the middle and it's okay if it goes over. First pat it down at the base and then once you have most of the shimmer down, you can start bringing it upwards. This basically is a halo eye, except usually it's not open right here. That's really the only difference. Make sure you keep the edges nice and soft. And then from what I've learned with the pressed glitters from other palettes, you're gonna wanna go in with a glitter primer. So I'm using one by NYX, using my finger and then tapping it all over the center. And I'm not gonna take it all the way up because as you can see on this eye, I left it bare. And then taking a Sigma E25 brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Opal and I'm gonna pat that in the center. Ugh. It's so pretty. And I like to use a fluffy brush for glitter like this because I feel like with a flat shader brush, it really keeps it concentrated and it doesn't make it scattered. Basically, it just helps randomize the glitter so that it's not all concentrated in one spot. And then one more time, I'm gonna go in with Jasper, kind of re-intensify everything. And then all that's left is applying some mascara and some false lashes, and you are good to go. And this is the second look all completed. I'm having so much fun with this palette, guys. I also went ahead and used Moonstone and Pearl and added it to the tip of my nose as well as my cheeks as a highlight. They were intense, so I had to tone it down. So I'll just tell you that a little bit goes a long way. All right, so I think I'm gonna take this off because I'm done filming for today. I will see you tomorrow for the next look. All right, so with a fluffy brush, I'm first going into the shade Carnelian, and I'm packing that all over the lid. You don't have to worry too much about the center because other things are gonna go on top of it, but it's nice to have a little bit of it in the background. And then with a smaller taper brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Garnet, and I'm gonna place that basically everywhere that I applied the first shade, but I'm not gonna take it as high. And with this color, any spots that you missed on the lid, you can cover up with this shade. And then once the color is down, I'm just gonna blend out the edges so that they're nice and soft. And then with the Morphe M506 brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Royal Jewels. I'm gonna buff out the outer edges. This step I don't think is totally necessary. You could just blend more on the first shade, but this is a second option. And the color is here, so why not use it? Okay, so all the mattes are down. Now we're gonna move on to the shimmers. So with a Sigma E25 brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Ruby. I'm gonna pat that all over the lid. And I like to use a fluffy brush versus a flat shader because I feel like that way I can still see the matte behind it, whereas a flat shader brush would just cover it up. And also, I don't want this to be super precise. I want this to be perfectly imperfect. And then I'm gonna use my color switch because I wanna use this brush again. And then with the same brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Sunstone, and I'm gonna place that in the center of the lid. So we're adding layers.
You're so wrapped up in layers, onion boy.
All right, and then lastly, with any fluffy brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Diamond. This is a little bit hard to pick up, so you really actually have to dig quite a bit in this one. And I'm just gonna sprinkle that everywhere. Like I said, there's really no perfection in this look. I think that's one of the nice things about having a smoky look is that you can be kind of sloppy with it and it will still look good. And the shade Diamond, I think, is a super shock shadow. Correct me if I'm wrong. Kind of sheer. Definitely something that you want to layer on top of another shade. So for the lower lash line, I'm going to go in with a small taper brush again and use the shade Garnet. And I'm going to run that on my lower lash line. And then I'm going to take the brush that I used for Carnelian. I'm not going to add any more product. I'm just going to run that along the edges of Garnet. I'm going to take a Morphe M124 brush. I'm going to go into the shade Moonstone. I'm going to add that to my brow bone. And then using a pencil brush, I'm going to go into the same shade and just add that into my inner corner as well. And then I'm going to go in with my white eyeliner again. I'm going to add that into my waterline. And then using a liner brush, I'm going to go into the shade Citrine. I'm going to add that right on top because you guys know I like a pop of something in the waterline. All right, this is the third and final look, all complete. Out of the 30 eyeshadows in this palette, I did use 19 of them for the 3 looks. So I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of the eyeshadows as a whole. And plus I do have several Colourpop eyeshadows in my collection already. Overall, the mattes are really good. I feel like they blended really nicely. They're very pigmented. The pressed glitters, I used a glitter glue before I applied them. I recently tried their Sweet Talk palette and that was the same type of formula and it didn't stay unless I had glitter glue underneath it. So I assume it's the same in this case. Either way, when you're dealing with a glitter like that, you want to have a sticky base under it so that it stays. The first shade Diamond, I'm almost positive it's a super shock shadow. I felt like it was a little crumbly, like picking it up was kind of a pain. I really had to dig into Diamond to get it to show up on my brush. So even though this color is okay, I just wasn't a huge fan of the formula. And another thing that I wanted to note is even though for the most part the shimmers are really nice in this palette, there are some duds, and particularly the purples. So Fluorite, Alexandrite, and Amethyst are not great. I'm gonna go into a good eyeshadow, which was Peridot. This was a nice shimmer that I did like. As you can see, like it's so pretty. It's super vibrant. I'm gonna wipe my finger and go into Fluorite, and I'm gonna really dig into this one. And you know what? Just to compare, let's go into Alexandrite. I hope I'm saying that right. Just to show you that I'm not doing anything with it. Like I'm going over it multiple times. You can see that this one is just so much more reflective and these almost seem dull. And that's really going back and forth. This was just once. So I did create a look. I didn't show it on camera, but I tried to use the purples and they just weren't layering really nicely. So I ended up removing it and coming up with this look instead. So just a warning to you that the purples, fluorite and alexandrite, more so over amethyst. Amethyst isn't the best, but it's okay versus those two. Just know that they're not the best when you compare them to the rest of the shimmers. But if you take out those two shades or even that third shade, because it's not nearly as good as the other shimmers, I really do like this palette. I think it's beautiful. I think that the color story is really well thought out. I think it's a really great price. I think if you're interested in this, you're not going to be disappointed. So that is it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and feel free to comment down below what video you'd like to see from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.